think it's only fitting to start this episode off just with a big, deep sigh, because, oh man.
Oh, you are teeing this up so good. Enzo, to me, looks like a more agile, basically a young Chess Fabregas.
It's a Rolls Royce, man. You gotta sell it.
Messi is the Jorginho of international football. That was a dumb take.
The flag stays down!
Welcome to another episode of the Flag Stays Down podcast. Chelsea's back. We are back. Parker couldn't make it, but Matt and I are here tonight. Matt, how you doing?
Doing good. Been a busy weekend. Got the privilege of hanging out with your family and doing a little breakfast and coffee. So that was a good time. And then today just made some chili, visited some friends of ours, watched the Packer game, watched the Chelsea game with my son this morning. Yeah. That's about. I will say the happiest moment of my day today. So my son, who is 6 months old, I was wearing the warm up, the new blue Chelsea warm up, and he's 6 months old, so he just looks at everything and tries to put everything in his mouth. At this point, he kept going for the badge and kept trying to put it in his mouth. I'm like, okay, we're doing something right here. So I was very happy about that. So, but yeah, all things considered, we're doing good. Sunday night, we're here. Couldn't be better. Collins, how are you?
Good. Aiden was asking me about Miles this morning because him and I went to Highbury early for the match. He's like, "Do you think Miles is ever going to come to Highbury with Uncle Matt?" And I was like, "I don't know." He goes, "Do you think Miles is going to like Chelsea?" And I was like, "Oh yeah. I didn't have to try hard with you. I'm sure Matt won't have to try hard with Miles." So, yeah, it was pretty funny. But no, my weekend was good. And it was great seeing you and the wife yesterday. And I want to give a quick shout out. This is not a paid ad at all, but I want to give a quick shout out to Kind Oasis here in Milwaukee, up on Farwell. Needed something just to relax and also keep my focus, get stuff done today. They've got a great THCV plus gummy, which helped me accomplish a lot today. I got a lot done, which is, as you know, Matt, is hard to do after a disappointing Chelsea game. So quick shout out to them. Always great up there. So if you're in Milwaukee and you're into that kind of stuff, make sure to hit up Kind Oasis. And maybe they'll pay us for it at some point.
You got to try, right?
All right. Well, Matt, before we get into a depressing 0-0 draw at Bournemouth, real quick, want to talk about third kits. First, we've seen it. We haven't even seen the away kit in person yet, but we now have seen the Eton Blue third kit. What are your thoughts?
It's simple. Just as we call it, mint, right? It looks just like mint green. I didn't mind it. The only thing that I would have liked to have seen is like a little bit of contrast with either the shorts or the socks. Just like that Eton blue top to bottom. Not a huge fan. For a third kit, I'd like to see a little bit of contrast in something. Like even when we had it was last year's kit, the white with like that paisley pattern, at least we would wear that with like the navy blue socks. Like that I liked that combination. I just think it was too much Eton blue, at least for me. But all in all, it's not the worst thing, I guess, is kind of how I'll look at it. And Collins, I know that you'll touch on it, but and you just showed it to me, the training kit, the alternate training kit, or the third kit, whatever you want to call it. That's pretty slick. It's different, and I obviously like different jerseys, so it's something I could definitely get behind.
Yeah, see, I was actually a big fan of the Eton blue all over. Yeah, maybe black socks would have done it, or yeah, I don't know. I just like the overall vibe. I think it's gonna look even better with Infinite Athlete across the front. That's my only complaint, is it is a little plain. That and the shorts. I noticed when Thiago Silva was rolling out around on the ground, they have a weird stripe through the crotch area, which was odd. That'd be the only change I would make to that. But I'm a big fan. You know, when we did our kit evaluations, I think I need to start listening to you and Parker talking about what we need to see it in person first. This may be the best set of Chelsea kits we have had. Gosh, we were looking at that after the pod last week. What did I go back to? Like 2004 was the last like good set.
I think 0405 is kind of where you landed.
Yeah.
I think I was 14, 15.
So I mean, even there we're talking 1 decade, 2 decades. Like, to me at least, the three we have are very solid. Just need to get a sponsor on those kits.
Yeah, I mean, they're not bad. I'm still kind of iffy on our home kit. I know, Collins, when you saw the renderings, you were not a fan. I know you're still kind of leery on the metallic gold for the crest and stuff like that, but I mean, it's the home kit. It's supposed to be pretty simple. But yeah, it's not too bad. Yeah, I think looking back, I think it was the 13-14 or the 16-17 that I really liked, maybe even the 17-18. But yeah, either way, like it's been a while since we've had kind of a trifecta of kits that we actually enjoy. Like, there's no like one outlier. It's like, okay, these are actually pretty good. But again, to me, I think the third kit should be a little bit more different, instead of just like the same kit as the home kit, just a different color. That to me almost seems more like an away, right? So if you look at like most pro sports, you have your home colors, and then you have like a white away or something like that. You have a main color and then like a white away, and then maybe you'll do like a third kit that's like black or something like that. It's usually a little bit different. This one is just a whole color that I would have liked to have seen a little bit more design put into it than just hitting it with Microsoft Paint and saying we're good.
You know, this may be one of the few times we see this kit this year. Now that I think about it, I think the reason it was worn today was because you can't wear the away. You can't wear the black away against black and red Bournemouth. You need that contrast there. I'm trying to think of another team where, you know, maybe Newcastle, but we typically wear our homes against Newcastle. So this might be maybe one of three times this year we wear this kit. So drink it up. All right. Well, to the actual play itself, again, and we're talking about it pre-pod, almost a forgettable, very forgettable 0-0 draw at the Vitality Stadium. I don't even know where to start on this. I know I think the big one, but we'll do this because Parker's not on the pod. Matt, you and I, when we were discussing man of the match and man to get the fuck out of here, we're pretty similar on a lot of things until we got to Conor Gallagher. Yeah, I'm of the opinion Gallagher did not have a great game. I actually had him in my man to get the fuck out of here. You, on the other hand, had him as a potential man of the match for Chelsea. Why?
Yeah. So for me, I think it was the way that he was, and I'll preface this by saying this was predominantly the first half, because the second half was just kind of all over the place from a Chelsea perspective. But the first half, he was the quarterback. He was the one running everything. He was the one kind of leading things forward. He was also kind of doing his pivot thing every now and again. And he would find himself in great positions and a lot of space, and just kind of being that linchpin, kind of like what we've seen with Enzo, just being the guy that everybody's going to in order to kind of kick things off. I thought he did a really good job of distributing the ball. Again, predominantly in the first half, I thought he did a great job of kind of opening things up. And just finding good pockets of space to be an outlet and then drive forward. So it was a different version of Connor, which I'm starting to like more and more, is the different versions that we're seeing of him, right? Usually he can be playing in that number 6. He can be playing in that number 8. He can kind of do a little bit of everything. And it seems like every week there's a different level to his game, or he's doing something a little bit different than just, this is your position, this is all that you do. So I like seeing that versatility out of him. I thought today was another example of that, and I thought that he had a good match today. I don't think he was anywhere near get the fuck out of here territory, so to speak. I thought there were maybe some others that could have fit that mold, but yeah, I thought that this was another solid performance from him in a different way than we're used to seeing him.
Yeah, and I think he was industrious as ever, right? I think he did a whole lot of running. I think he did, certainly padded stats in certain areas, I would say. But when it comes down to me, the thing that put him in man to get the fuck out of here for me was his lack of decision making, right? And it's something that not only him, but the majority of the team struggles with, and it's quick decisions. Connor, I can think of off the top of my head 4, maybe 5 occasions where we're either on the break or there's a great opportunity, somebody's making a great run, and Connor either doesn't pass the ball, he passes it too late, and that player gets smothered or ball's intercepted, or he should have just taken the damn shot. I don't know. There's just a lot of attacks that went to die through Conor Gallagher. Now, we did create a fair amount of chances in the game, so it's not like he specifically lost the game for us. But when your team is struggling to score, we need those quick decisions. We need that, kind of first touch through, right, or that first time pass through to somebody making that run, or hell, a snapshot from the top of the box. There were at least 3 times I remember yelling "shoot" at Connor for that. So again, I think he did, he was kind of the pivot in terms of passing. His passing numbers were great. I think he had the most passes on the team. You had a couple key interceptions defensively, but the attack is where he struggled, and it seems like where things were a bit stifled as we were going through him on that right side.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. I guess my question to that, not a counterpoint or anything, just a question to that would be, if that was the case, wouldn't you have expected Pochettino to make that switch and say, okay, Enzo, go back to being the point person, right? Because in that first half, it seemed like everybody was looking for Connor. At least that's the vibe I got, was everybody is looking for him. to set things off going forward. Where before it's like, all right, get the ball to Enzo, let him do his thing. It seemed like it was a clear message to get it to Connor and then go that route. Do you think that, did you see that, first of all? And do you think that Pochettino should have made that switch and be like, all right, Enzo, go back to doing your thing and set things off?
Well, I see that's the other thing I was a little bit curious about, is because as I was watching the game, I noticed, they did the lineup and it was whatever in defense, 2-1 or 2-3 in the mid, right? So two sixes and Enzo is the 8 or the 10, whatever you want to call him. But as the game went on, as things played out, it looked more like a flat 3 in the midfield to me, where it was Connor on the right, Leslie in the middle, Enzo on the left. So I'm not sure, if that was a player choice. I'm not sure what exactly happened there, because Enzo should be the point man.
Mm-hmm.
Now playing that 8, playing that 10 role, he shouldn't be getting the first ball from our defenders. That should be Connor playing in the 6, getting that. But that next ball then should be going to Enzo, and it wasn't. Which, it could be system, could be coaching, could be players. I'm not sure, but it just wasn't clicking the way that formation should.
Yeah, and I noticed that too, like Enzo on the left, and I think this is the second match in a row where Enzo's kind of been on that left side a little bit more predominantly. I don't know if that's by design, but as we've talked about last week, like the ever confusing left side, right? Like that whole thing. It's like, if you are going to push the right, why not put Enzo on the right and then move Connor to the left and try and have him open that up from that side? Because Enzo's going to do his thing on the right. Why not throw Connor on the left, or put Enzo in the middle, Connor on the right, and have Leslie go on the left if you're not going to be utilizing it as much?
Or, hear me out here, with the way Leslie played in this one, have Leslie be your 6 and play with 2 8s. Have Connor take one side, Enzo take the other. And then, Leslie, who seems like a decent passer of the ball to me, has an option, right? You've got 2 different styles of creator on either side of you. Pass forward with whatever tickles your fancy, right? And we know that Connor can then cut in from the right side or the left side, whatever. Enzo can play that cross-field pass. So it's not like you're locking into one side or the other there. But then you've got two distributors. So, maybe it was unfair for me to put Connor in that man to get the fuck out of here. The indecision was the thing that bothered me. But now the more that we talk about this here, it seems like a tactical issue that was holding him back a little bit.
Yeah, I that's kind of where I wanted to get to, is it seemed a little bit more tactical, because I remember as I was looking at him, like, why is Connor getting so much of the ball, right? That's where we expect Enzo to be. Like, he is that guy. And everybody was just looking for Connor. And it confused me. I mean, he did well, but you would expect that to be Enzo, to be that more decisive decision maker and that distributor. So it was a little confusing for me, but I thought he did well.
And I know I already touched on him a little bit, but before we get to our next topic here, I do want to give props to Leslie Ugochukwu. Matt, I know the number 6 position is not your favorite position. It's one that I enjoy. It's one that I identify with. I feel like it's a good transition. We're volleyball guys, right? And so the middle and the number 6 both seem to be similar. You're all about the blocking, defensive, whatnot, but you can also pose that offensive threat. You had mentioned that you didn't even really notice Leslie today. I think that's perfect. I think that's exactly what you need to see out of him. If he's not making mistakes in the number 6 role, you're not going to notice him. But I thought he had some great runs, a couple key interceptions, some good passing. And at the age of 19 in his first Premier League start, we've seen older players struggle more in their first Premier League start, especially at Chelsea. So I think in the event that Caicedo, for whatever reason, would be out long term, Leslie's a great fill in there. I trust him to be in there. He reminds me a lot of oh God, I forgot his name. Who's the guy we had on loan from Juve last year? Zakaria.
Mm-hmm.
He reminds me of Zakaria, just with his build, his frame, just the way he runs at people. I was encouraged by him.
Yeah, and my only criticism, and it is an unfair criticism, because he is so young. It was his first Premier League start. He was playing in a position that he hasn't played for us yet this season. He's come in at left back, I think, a couple times. But it was just being able to find those positions where he was an outlet for the back four. I think a couple times, he almost like was trying to get there, but didn't know which way he should go. But again, he's young. It's his first Premier League start. So that's the only thing I'm going to nitpick on. But even that, it's very minimal. And we're kind of splitting hairs at that point. But overall, I thought it was a solid debut for him. A solid first time start out.
So we talked about Gallagher on the right. We talked about Leslie in the middle. Talked a little bit about Enzo on the left. The left side has been a big point of conversation so far for us this year. Mudryk got his first start, which was encouraging over Benny Chills down that left wing. Mudryk easily could have had 2 or 3 assists in this one. But in the end, a lot of people starting to claim, hey, he's left out on an island again. What is it with us in this left side, Matt?
I don't know. The left side, I made the comment earlier in our group chat. It seems like we should only be playing with 8 people. Like realistically, that left side is kind of useless. And the thing is, teams can plan for it. If you're a coach and you're looking at Chelsea and Raz is our biggest threat right now, and we run majority of our offense through the right side, you're going to start shifting everybody to that side and make things tougher and make Chelsea use the left side, which has been an issue. It's easy to game plan against. I don't understand it. I think it was good to see Mudryk with a start. He had kind of a Jekyll and Hyde type game. Some moments were great. Like you said, he should have had probably 2 or 3 assists. And then, when we were chatting, you said he had like 6 marked poor touches or something like that, or uncontrolled touches, whatever the stat is. So you see the best of him, you see the worst of him kind of all in one. My biggest issue is that it seems like it's with Colwell playing the left back, it seemed like it was only him on the left. And that's it. And with the amount of work that he was doing, at certain times, he was almost as far back as the back four. And we want him to kind of be that outlet, boot it up the field and let him go after it. That's where he's going to be at his best. If you can get him in situations where he's not, 1v3 or things like that, it's just him on the left, and there's not really a lot of runs going that way or anything like that. Everything is being forced down the right. It doesn't unlock that potential that we know that he has. So that's my biggest thing. I know Enzo was playing predominantly on the left, but I didn't think he had a great game. I didn't think he really saw enough of the ball to be a big impact. So Enzo and Mudryk, and if you get Enzo the ball, I think you'll see some more with Mudryk. I'd like to almost see a combination of him and Chilwell together for more than 20 minutes at a crack or something like that. If Chilwell's playing the whole match and then Mudryk comes off the bench, I'd like to see more of what they can do together. I know that Chills likes to get forward. If that can somehow be managed a little bit better, because if he goes all the way, if he starts going a lot more forward, then that forces Mudryk almost to try and cover back a little bit, and then you're kind of taking out one of his biggest assets. So I think if that can be managed and you can create a little bit of overlap with Chilwell and Mudryk, I think that would help kind of not isolate Mudryk as much and give him a chance to operate and kind of go a little bit more 1v1 as opposed to like 1v2 or 1v3 like he is now.
See, I think the Chilwell Mudryk partnership, at least in the shorter term, is dead. I'm not sure we see that. I think it's going to be we see one or the other, and then there's going to be sub late in the game, right? Pochettino talked in his post game presser, and I'm pulling up the quote here. This is courtesy of Nazar Kinsella. Pochettino quote: "One thing I'm disappointed with is that the fullbacks try to go forward too much and create confusion to the attackers and give the opponent a chance to get chances." Focusing on the first part there, the fullbacks going forward, we saw Malo Gusto once again struggle with crosses. He's great defensively, offensively not great, right? We know Chilwell is great offensively, subpar, I would say, defensively. Marcus Alonso-esque, just to piss you off. And we've also heard in the last couple of weeks that Pochettino and people around the club feel like Mudryk is still very raw and doesn't have the footballing IQ yet. And so, if he's a guy who's easily distracted, confused, whatever, when things aren't going the way that they should go, you don't want Chilwell, who makes very similar runs to Mudryk, liking to cut in on the left. You don't want both of them occupying that same space, which we've seen a couple times when those two play at the same time. So I think, at least in the short term, and by short term I mean maybe over the next 6 months or so, you're gonna see Colwill at left back when Mudryk is left winger, and you're gonna see either Matson or Colwill at left back, and Chilwell will continue to play that left wing position, at least until Nkunku comes back. Then things change. But I don't think it's a great situation.
Yeah, I think it's something that's going to come with time, right? I think right now Chills is playing that left wing out of necessity. I don't think he wants to play left wing. I think he wants to be that left wing back. I like him as a left back and left wing back. But what we're seeing lately is that he's so far forward that it causes everybody to have to shift over and leaves us exposed. And same thing down the right. We're seeing too much of it. I don't know if that's residual from, Tuchel and Potter. I don't know if that's residual or not, but I think it needs to be a little bit different, especially if we're playing a back four, right? If we're doing, a back three and then two wing backs, then it makes sense that they can go forward. But, this is going back to the days when we had Dave as our right back, not a right wing back. He would make a few runs here and there and push forward, but then he would always be able to get back pretty quick. So I think if we can find a way to do that with Chilwell and keep him a little bit more defensive and not as far forward as a left back, I think that would help the situation a lot. Because like I said, Chilwell, we know he can put a good ball in. We know he's got a sweet left foot off a volley or a half volley. We've seen him do it for a number of years. So he is an attacking option, but I think if we focus him more on the defensive side and give Mudryk a chance to operate, and then have that occasional overlapping run, just so that he's not just that Mudryk's not on an island by himself. I think that'll help the case tremendously.
Would it be, I know we kind of talked about this last week, but it was more kind of a wait and see mentality. We saw it again today where subs are made and then Raz moves to the left late in the game. Have you changed your mind at all? You know, we're trying to gauge where you're at here with Raz going back to the left. I know you were one of the proponents of that, right?
Yeah, I think we do it too late. Like the only reason why we did is because we brought on Cole Palmer. That's the only reason why Raz moved to the right, or sorry, moved to the left, is to create room so that Cole Palmer can operate. And he's left-footed and he likes to cut in. That's pretty much the only reason. I'd like to see more of that, like from the start, like make an actual decision to not just commit to the right, but hell, maybe go full 180, commit to the left, see what happens, right? Let's say you run Chilwell, Raz, and Enzo on that left. Could be fun. See what happens. The right side is going to be the right side. Like, we're easily getting forward on the right, even if we don't have our strongest right side. It's like they're giving that to us, and we're trying to almost like take too much of it. Because if you plan correctly, and if you say, hey, take the right, or give Chelsea the right, then you're playing right into the opposition's hands. So I think at this point, kind of go against the grain and be like, all right, if they're going to give us the right, we're still going to try and force the left, and then make them switch, and then things can open up on the right. So it's kind of like NFL. You run until the defense commits to the run, then you pass. Same kind of concept. Force the left, make them respect the left, then you can switch back over to the right. I think something like that is worth a shot. I'm not saying it's going to work, but at this point, what's the harm?
Yeah, I think I would assume that Cole Palmer is up to full fitness now. You know, he played during the international break with the England U21s, as did Noni. Noni came back with a little bit of a muscle strain, so that's why he didn't feature today. But I think, yeah, I'm starting to come around now where, you know, force the left, put Raz on the left, Palmer or Noni, you know, whatever the best matchup is on the right. And I think those two are as serviceable on the right as you can get. Right. I don't really see a flaw in their game as of yet. So I wonder if that would start to balance things.
And the other thing, which Collins, I think you'll approve of, it'll force Raz to shoot the ball instead of crossing it every single time he has an opportunity. Because he's not going to be crossing the ball with his left that much. He'll be able to cut in and actually start forcing himself to have some shots on goal.
There's that ball early in the first half. Shot or cross, very clearly a cross, but no one in that box.
I know. To me, I think that's a clear-cut shoot, because why not, right? I don't like that decision, and I think I think he's trying to cross too much and not just take it on himself. Like, why not have a crack at it? Because the crosses aren't working as well as we're hoping that they will.
Now, when the crosses do get in, you know, sometimes they hit our players in the face, or you know, we're three yards away from goal and it skied over the crossbar. Someone who's been very guilty of that is Nico Jackson, especially today. Had a couple of great opportunities, you know, for just first time tap ins. Also had one on the left side of the box that he skied out of the stadium, I'm pretty sure. we're 5 games in now. Are we starting to be concerned with Nico Jackson?
I will go back to what I harped on during preseason. It was preseason. Anybody can look great in preseason. I'm not saying that he is not going to be good. I'm just saying his talents might have been a little bit over exaggerated. We might have looked a little bit too much into the preseason in regards to how Nico Jackson would fare once the season actually began. Granted, he's not getting a ton of chances, and when he does, he is not capitalizing. He's got the Timo Werner effect. I don't know, chalk up anybody you want over the last 3 years who couldn't put a ball away. It's just happening right now. I don't think it's going to be for everything. Like, I don't think it's going to be like, oh, yep, that's his claim to fame. You know, he's going to be the next Chris Wondolowski. But I think, like most of the team, he's struggling with confidence right now. Even the goal that he scored to kind of get him off his start wasn't a clean goal by any stretch of the imagination. So it just kind of lucked out that it went in. And I think he's trying. I think it's a problem with Chelsea right now. Is like, it almost seems like everybody's trying to do too much and not just letting the game come to them and just kind of go about it that way. I don't know why that is, but it just seems to be the case right now. I mean, what I found, my favorite Nico Jackson moment was late in the match when he went and like body checked somebody, and then you pan to his jersey and he's got a huge rip in it in the back of his jersey. I was like, oh, well, I'm guessing that one wasn't called, but it's just something like that. Like, the guy works hard. He's tough. I like what he brings, but he's also young and he's going to need time to adjust to everything and get used to it. So I'm not overly concerned. The bigger concern I have is that we have nobody else besides him right now.
That's fair. 100% that's fair. When you look at the metrics, I'm a big analytical guy, right? So XG per 90, shots per 90, stuff like that. He's above where he was the last 2 seasons at Villarreal. Now, granted, outside of the second half of the season, he really didn't do much at Villarreal. He scored 9 times in their last 12 games or something like that. And he only had 12 total goals at Villarreal. So you kind of like what we say with Timo Werner. I think he does the right things. He makes the right runs. It's just, like you said, he's young, right? But I mean, he's got an XG per 90 of almost 0.8, right? So, man, I feel like I say the law of averages too much on this pod. The law of averages tells me eventually it's going to click for him, right? He's making all the right opportunities, making, all the right shots. Well, not all the right shots, but pulling the trigger at least enough. Just like with Connor, though, it's like you gotta make that decision quick. You gotta say, hey, like I'm taking a shot here. Sometimes he takes the ball a little bit too much, too many touches, lays it off for no reason. If he becomes a little bit more decisive in front of goal and just trusts himself in front of goal, I think it's coming. But I think it's also good that Armando Broja is on the mend. Parker and I talked about this on our very first episode. Is going into the season with one striker a good idea? No, No, it's not. And this is the first season, assuming Broya is back in the next couple of weeks, that we're going to have multiple on this roster. So fingers crossed that those two push each other in practice and one of them figures it out, because we need goals. The defense looks fine, but you can't come away with points unless you're scoring goals.
Yep. Completely agree. Maybe we can put a reset striker when he comes back.
God, yeah, he broken immediately. I did talk about the defense being good so far. Axel Disasi, I thought, had a very good game. Thiago played well. Malagusto defensively played well. Levi Colwell, I'm of the opinion, had a very good game. But I think the standout defensively was Big Bobby Sanchez. Couple big saves, commanding that box. Is this a flash in the pan performance out of Bobby, or is this kind of what we should be expecting?
I don't know if to go back to your comment on the law of averages, I don't know what his average is. Like, he played really well today. We've also seen him play terribly. Who knows? I don't know if it's a flash in the pan. I don't know if he's finally settling in at Chelsea. Roll the dice, throw darts at a dartboard in the dark and see what it hits. I don't know. I'm happy that he had a good game today. We definitely needed it. I hope it continues, but I don't know what to make of it. It's kind of like this Chelsea team. We take it game by game and we see what happens. So that's kind of where I'm at with Sanchez right now.
Yeah, and I've been, the thing I love about this podcast is I get to be held accountable for my hot takes. Week 1, I was very impressed with him commanding that box, right? Then by pre-international break, it was, oh man, we've given up 11 goals on 11 shots on target, or some crazy number like that. I liked what I saw out of him today. I like seeing him pre-match at halftime, things like that, where you kind of see the leadership that he's bringing. He's always the one seemingly trying to hype the guys up coming out of the tunnel. He's always talking to defenders with Thiago Silva, with Colwell. Here's another Timo Werner reference. He passes my eye test. Now, do the stats back it up? No, but I would take him over Kepa right now. I think, Sanchez has made saves on balls coming from out of the box, which we know Kepa cannot do. We've seen Sanchez punch at balls on corners and get that, clear those balls out. We know that Kepa cannot command his box on set pieces. I think our defense is good enough to not hide Sanchez, but elevate him. I'm not super concerned with the defense right now. If we were scoring goals and giving up a goal a game, or a goal every other game, we would be claiming that this is one of the best defensive teams in the league. But because we're dropping points, giving up 1 goal a game, now everybody's pointing out, hey, well, why are we giving up so many goals? I think it's unfair to blame the defense for what's happened this year.
I don't know if I would take Sanchez over Kepa personally. If we're talking, Kepa under Sarri or, pre-Mendy, yeah, absolutely. But recent Kepa, he was playing pretty well. And he was starting to kind of earn a decent chunk of that money that we paid for him. So I still think that I would prefer Kepa in goal, just based on the small sample size I've seen of Robert Sanchez. Yeah, I know Sanchez is taller. I don't know if he's necessarily better with his feet. I've seen some questionable passes and decision making from him. Like when he tries to throw the ball out and passing it right to the defense or hitting a defender or even his own player. Questionable at best. And I've seen more of Kepa. We've dealt with the highs and lows. So I would trust Kepa more. Unfortunately, we've seen more of the lows, I think, with Sanchez in the early stages of his Chelsea career. But it's hard for me to say that I would prefer Sanchez over Kepa in this moment. But let's not take anything away from his game today. Some really big saves. So he played well today.
Yeah, and I think the sample size is, like you said, we've seen Kepa for a number of years. The sample size on Sanchez is still small. It's 5 matches. So I mean, we'll wait and see. But I think he has those intangibles. And who knows? Maybe we'll see Jordy Petrovic at some point here. All right. Well, Matt, the last thing I want to touch on before we get to our polls is a quote we saw this week from the Byline podcast. Certainly not encouraging you to go listen to the Byline. I think we've all been somewhat clear here that Alex Goldberg's not our favorite person in the world. At least Parker and I, Matt, you're not on Twitter, so you don't have to see his BS all the time. But he had former backup keeper Asmir Begovic on the pod this week. Begovic went on to bitch about the current state of the club. Big quote coming out this week that ESPN even picked up from Begovic, quote, "The squad of players at Pochettino's disposal and the amount of money spent is 12th in the league. It's mid-table. If they were any higher, you'd be working miracles. This is not Chelsea Football Club. This is not the club that I know." Man, pot kettle at that point. First of all, Asmir Begovic at his best was a mid-table keeper. I would say. I can't. He played twice for us, maybe.
Yeah, something like that. Or no, he actually had a decent. I forgot who was out at the time. Was Checkout? No.
Hold on.
Courtois might have been out for something, and then Begovic played like
19 appearances for Chelsea overall.
Yeah, I think that was all when Courtois was out.
The rest of his career, let me just point out here.
Wasn't he at Bournemouth for a while?
Bournemouth when they were in League One, Portsmouth in the Premier League, Ipswich in the Championship, Stoke City in the Premier League, Bournemouth in the Premier League, Bournemouth in the Championship, Everton in the Premier League. That is the career of Asmir Begovic. So, anyways, done ripping on him. But Matt, what do you make of his comments?
Partially true. I think so. The money spent thing, I'll touch on that first. We did bring in big names. We have spent a very good amount of money. But if you look at the players that we've gotten from that, they're all young, right? We are making an investment early in a lot of good young talent. I'm fine with that. You look at Enzo, you look at Mudryk, you look at those big names or big money moves. They're also very young. And we've structured their deals in such a way and locked them down to long-term deals that the money that we spent on them now is going to be chump change compared to what it would look like 7-8 years down the line when they're in their prime. I don't have an issue with the amount of money that we spend because most of it is on youth and developing the club for the next decade. So I'm not worried about that. It is a lot of money. I get that. But if you look at majority of the players that we're spending, that we've spent the $1 billion on or whatever it is, I would say probably 65% of that is youth and players that aren't even starting at Chelsea at this point. A lot of them are like loan moves, or they're definitely going to be like role players, or, you know, something like that for the club. They're not expected to make an impact right away. They're expected to develop over time and then become a bigger part of Chelsea's long-term plan. So I'm okay with that. To say that because that the money that we've spent and the players that we got, we are 12th, I don't agree with. I think that we should be higher up. I don't think our performances have been great, so I think that we should definitely be higher than 12th. But again, we've talked about this season being a season of growing pains. That's what it's going to end up being. Just because, and it goes back to the point I just made, just because we're spending all this money doesn't mean we're going to see results right away. We're going to see it in the long term. So we're essentially playing the long con here, right? Spend more now up front and let that pay dividends in future success and probably future profits further down the line. So I mean, like, I think we're better than 12th, obviously. But with the people that we have and with all the moves that we've made and all the people coming in and out and basically restructuring the entire club from the top down, it's understandable that we would be in a position like this. So I can kind of understand it, but at the same time, not. So I'm a little torn on that. But and my last thing, and Collins, you kind of brought it up, so I'm just gonna kind of finish my thought with it. I don't think Asmir Begovic can say that this is not Chelsea, because he barely played for Chelsea and he just kind of was riding the coattails of everybody that dragged him along. So who cares?
Yeah, Matt, I think you hit on some great points here. Especially the inexperience of this squad, the amount of players that have been brought in. We have, what was it, 2 players from our Champions League final are still on the roster. Who was that? Chills and Reese?
Silva?
And Silva, yes. So three players left. That was 2 years ago. In the last year, we've purchased 33 players. These guys don't know each other. These guys are all pretty much under the age of 25, with the exception of Thiago Silva and Marcus Bettinelli. We have the youngest team in the Premier League at 23 years old on average. You're going to have these growing pains. And I think as American sports fans, I think we understand this a little bit better than everybody else does, because we see teams do this, right? Baseball, you see it in football, you see it in basketball. You go young because you make that investment early and it pays off in the long run, right? These guys have all then played together, but when they reach their prime, they're clicking on all, or firing on all cylinders. Now, as for Begovic's comments, I think what I'm seeing this week, because he's not the only person. I've seen a lot of, in the nose, as you want to call them. I've seen a lot of Twitter personalities, the Chelsea Twitter personalities say, "Oh, this isn't my club. Bully's to blame. Where did my club go?" You're seeing exactly when people became fans of this club. Now, I can certainly be lumped in with that group. I became a fan the year after Abramovich took over, and that's just because of the age I was and you know, my growing interest in soccer and the availability of soccer here in America. But I'm a historian enough to know I grew up, you know, graduated with the history degree. History's always been fascinating to me. Chelsea is always something that I'm gonna read about, especially the history and all that. I can understand that this is not the last 20 years is not Chelsea as the norm. Chelsea has a longer history than the 21st century. And so for this not to be your football club, for this not to be you know, the Chelsea that you know, okay, that's fine. You know, that just it marks where you became a Chelsea fan, essentially. You know, did you come in when this team was like the Yankees, winning trophy after trophy after trophy, and now that's what you expect? For a lot of people, yes, because a lot of people are glory hunters. I don't know. This is a new Chelsea. It's new ownership. It's you know, new technical directors, new coaching staff, and now we've got new players. If you truly are a Chelsea fan, you will back these people through thick and thin. It's sad to see all these people outing themselves as glory hunters. You know, especially former players now. But I guess that comes with the territory. I'm ready to ride or die with this club. I always will be. And that's just how I am as a fan. And so it makes me mad when I see people who are like, oh, this isn't my club anymore. Well, this never was your club. So I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, well, I started being a fan when Chelsea was good, right? Right around that Champions League victory against Bayern Munich. Like, that's kind of when I started kind of getting into Chelsea, right around that time. But yeah, I mean, I'm also a fan, just like all of us are, of different sports teams and stuff like that. Like, Collins and I were Green Bay Packer fans. Parker's also a Packer fan. Collins, I also know you're a Chiefs fan. Like, we're Brewers fans. Collins, I know you got Kansas City and the White Sox and stuff like that. Like, I get all that, but like, those are our teams. Like, yeah, they have down years. Look at Green Bay, right? You know, we're going through our own kind of, I want to call it a rebuild, but kind of a new era, a new shift. It's still your team. Like, in another good example would be if you look at like the Patriots. You didn't hear a lot of Patriot fans before Tom Brady showed up. I don't remember hearing a lot of rumblings about the Patriots when Drew Bledsoe was the quarterback. So again, it just goes to show, like, it's gonna happen. Nobody remembered how bad City was until, or at least like after they started winning everything. Nobody remembered how shit they were for a long time. Same thing with Chelsea. They were shit in the 90s, and we kind of came into our own, and now we were kind of taking a step back with new changes and everything. It's going to happen. It's just the way that sports work. You can't stay at the top forever. Otherwise, it would be extremely boring, which is why nobody cares to watch the Bundesliga anymore, because Bayern always wins. So it's just one of those things that's going to happen. If you support your team, that's your team, and you deal with it. You deal with the highs and lows.
All right. Well, Matt, let's turn to our polls here as we close out this week's episode. We'll start with our man of the match poll. And again, you can catch these polls after every match. Just check us out on X or Twitter at FlagDownPod. So, man of the match, had a couple options here. Again, I know we already talked about Leslie Ugochukwu, and you and I had a bit of a difference on that, but he was an option. Raheem Sterling, Big Bobby Sanchez, or no, get the fuck out of here.
For me, I'm gonna say Bobby Sanchez. I thought he is the only reason in a 0-0 draw. He's the only reason why it stayed 0-0. So I will give that nod to Bobby Sanchez.
Yeah, I thought Leslie exceeded expectations, but not enough to be a man of the match. I had Sanchez as well. Sanchez did come in with 50% of the vote to win it. Get the fuck out of here came in second with 35. Raheem Sterling in third, and Oguchukwu in fourth. Turning to our man to get the fuck out of here poll, which is the worst thing of the day. Had 4 options, but also a write-in. So I'm going to include the write-in here. So 5 options for you, Matt. Officiating, the finishing, the rain, which we also experienced here in Milwaukee, injuries, or Chelsea Football Club.
So good. For me, I hate using injuries as an excuse, but when half of what you would consider your A team is out and most of your predominant bench mob is also out injured, that's a problem. I think we're doing the best we can with what we got. Well, I wouldn't say the best we can. We are doing what we can with what we got. I think the injuries are really starting to hamper what this team's full potential could look like. And we're seeing more of it. I even looked when I was looking at the lineup, I looked at the bench. I'm like, I don't know who half these guys are. We had 2 goalkeepers on the bench. Is one of them going to play center back just in case? That's almost kind of what I'm thinking is like, why would you have 2 keepers on the bench? So I think it just goes to show how thin we are and how stretched we are. So I'm going to go with injuries.
Yeah, injuries came away with the first place here overwhelmingly. I went officiating, and it didn't hurt us necessarily in this game, but once again, it was inconsistent. We had who was it? Cootie as the lead referee this week. He was terrible again, inconsistent. It seems like he was allowing the game to slow down as the game went on.
It was a very young Mike Dean performance.
Well, and that's the thing that, we're 5 weeks into this year, and, we've had Andre Mariner retire, Mike Dean retire. I'm missing another one. Lee Mason retired. I'm starting to miss those guys. Those guys were assholes, but at least you knew what you were going to get out of them. This new crop is terrible. I'm not a fan. And now I know, they need game experience to build up that repertoire, but just bring the old guard back, unfortunately. But officiating came in second. Chelsea Football Club in third. Rain and injuries tied for fourth. So, like I said, catch those polls after every match on X. Search at Flag Down Pod. Matt, any closing thoughts on today?
Keep hanging in there.
I like it. Well, make sure to follow us on all social media. That includes X, Facebook, Threads, Instagram, all that good stuff. All of it, we're at Flag Down Pod. As for the pod itself, you can listen to that on Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. Spotify's got a great new feature where you can comment now after every single episode. Let us know things you agree with, things you think that we're full of shit on. Your takes from the game. We'll make sure to give you a shout out. Also, make sure to hit that 5-star button. Really appreciate those as well. So again, we're at Flag Down Pod. So Matt, concludes another week. Cheers to 7 days without Chelsea.
Cheers.